Jesus said unto his disciples, let us cross over to the other side. What is up? What is up? What is up, everyone, everyone, everyone? It is another day, another time, and another week. Another day, another time. So, and my favorite Monday night show. Well, I'm talking about Real Talk Monday. You all. We are in here. We are ready, and we are excited about coming on and bringing this episode to you. As y'all can clearly see, scrolling down there at the bottom, we still in our series of I Survived It. You all, I have on here with me tonight. You all have been on my case. The ladies that are watching the show, y'all have been on my case. When are you gonna get a brother up here? We ready for some brothers to come on the show. We ready for some brothers to come on to the show. Well, y'all's prayer has been answered, and we got one of my brothers, good friend of mine. He has been on Conversation with Kings with us a couple of times, and he is great man of God. He is a family man, and I'm talking about none other than Mr. Thomas Barron. So, ladies and gentlemen, after this 30-second clip, the next space you will see is myself and Mr. Thomas, and we're going to have the conversation. Let's go. What is up, man? How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. Living life, blessed, highly favored, and all that good stuff.
Man, that is a blessing. That is a blessing. We thank you once again for coming on to another Reverend JC3 Studios production. We appreciate you, man. So, for those that's been living under a rock and maybe haven't listened to Shout Out to a Blemish Beauty or listened to Conversation with Kings or one of the other podcasts, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, before we have this conversation.
So I recently had a birthday. I am now 39 years old, 1 year closer to 40, which I'm looking forward to. Not a lot of people do. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a brother. I'm a man of God. I'm a preacher. I may not talk like one, but I am. I am just a man looking to take care of his family, make sure his wife is good, and make sure my marriage is strong. And anything outside of that, it don't make no difference to me.
I feel that. I feel that. So tonight we are gonna have a conversation on I survived it, being a black man in America and breaking the stereotypes. And let's just keep it real, you all. Being a black man in America, there's a bunch of stereotypes that are put on us as black males in America. So man, what is one when I say I survived it, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of that situation?
Man, in just a few, short 38 years of life, I've survived a lot. Of course, I'm not going to be able to go into everything, but we're talking, I survived the loss of my first love. When I say loss, I mean death of my first love. I survived being a statistic in my city. I mean, I'm from the hood. You know what I mean? Most people from the hood, they think you're going to be in the hood forever. And
Right.
I'm no longer in that hood. Um, I married young. I'm a black man who married young. And these days, people are not even worried about being married at all. much less being married at 23 years old. Um, I survived having guns pulled on me for no reason. I've survived not being a drug addict. I mean, I can go on and on, but when it comes to the topic of I survived it, I can give you a lot. I can give you a lot of the things that I have survived in my short 39 years of life now.
Yeah. So when we are talking about the I survived it being the stereotypical black man in America, let's just keep it real. That's what we do here on Real Talk Monday. We're gonna keep it real and we're gonna be honest. Being in America, they think that you're gonna, as a black man, when you go to school, you are only good for two things. Number one, you're gonna be a basketball player, or number two, you're gonna be a football player.
Hmm.
And if you make it to college, you have to make it off of your sports because it sure wasn't your education. It sure wasn't your mind.
Yeah.
So it's like where our other counterparts can go to school and they're not judged like that. But being a black male, we have it 10 times harder. We grow up, we are born with three strikes against us, two strikes against us automatically. You're black and you're a male. Automatically, you got two strikes against you right off jump.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We got to work twice as hard to get half the way that other people do. So I'm completely with you on that. It's rough out here as black men, especially when there are already preconceptions about what you are and who you are.
Man, I can tell y'all, it was a few years ago. This was fresh off of the Trayvon Martin case.
Mm.
I was walking to I was working in a building that I worked at and walked to a certain store, which was right across the street. Walk in there, buy a palette and a belt. I was talking to a good friend of mine that worked at that store as well. I'm walking out of that certain store. The alarm system goes off on me. When the alarm system goes off, I'm stopped and I'm told to empty out my pockets or give them everything that I have. So I ain't got nothing to hide. So they walk through with it, nothing happens to them. I walk through again, goes off on me again. They wave me off to go on back to leave. Get to my job, I'm laughing with a couple of my coworkers about the situation. A few minutes later, police are walking into my job. Now we thinking that where I worked at it wasn't uncommon to see people walk in there. So it wasn't the police didn't come looking for me or anything like that. So we made a joke about it. One of my coworkers made a joke about it. Yep, that's him, officer. Get him, get him, get him. He asked me, he comes right up there to the counter. Was you just in a certain store? Yes, sir, I was. I need you to step outside with all of your belongings now. Very politely walk outside, go in the trash can and grab my receipt so that they can see I paid for everything that I have. Get outside, police officer giving me attitude from jump. He wants my records. Sees I'm not like what they think I'm like. He finds out, oh snap, we done misjudged this young guy. He tells me he was going in there for something totally different. Few minutes later, two security guards from the store that I was at and another police officer comes rolling up on my job's property, telling me to put my hands on the car so that they can frisk me. So literally, customers walking in and out of the store that I'm working in, they don't know what's going on. All they see is black man, hands on police car. He must have done something wrong. So trust me, I already know about the whole, and it's like it's sad, but that's just the society that we live in.
Yeah,
Like,
I can say I'm blessed to never have those. those bad interactions with police officers. I'm blessed in that aspect. I've never had one of those.
Man, it was like once that officer realized that, like, oh snap, he's cool. He's not like what we think. He kind of lost. He kind of let his guard down. But his partner was trying to prove a point. But it is what it is. It just showed me that it don't matter what you do or how you dress or how you act. To some of them, you just gonna be another in America. So you are already breaking the statistics or the stereotypes that are already going on with black men, because the first thing that they say is black men are not at home with their families, and black men have multiple kids by different women. You are married and have children by your wife. Like, you breaking those stereotypes.
Yeah.
So how
Um,
does that feel for you?
I wanted to break the generational curse of fatherlessness in my family, because I come from a family with a single mother who raised her 4 kids on her own, and I didn't get to know my father until 9 months before he passed away from colon cancer. And I come to find out that I am very much in the aspect of personality, even in voice pitch. My voice pitch is the same exact voice pitch of his. If you hear us talk side by side, you wouldn't know who's talking. I sound
Mm,
exactly like him. And he's just really high yellow. Like, he is super beige, light skin. But my face is
right.
his face with a darker tone. I look exactly like him. My hair grows just like him. Every one of my features, other than my eye color, is my father. But he wasn't there. And I didn't get to know him until he was about to die. And I always said growing up that I would never, ever be away from my children. I would never have my children grow up in a house without me. And I made sure that that was the case, because I couldn't have a bunch of kids running around like that. Even with the things that I saw growing up of, my mom being single mother, 4 kids, um, my sisters, well, one of my sisters has multiple kids with multiple fathers. um my brother was, who he was. I'm not gonna put his business out there in case he watches this, but I didn't want to be the dude that had a bunch of kids.
Right.
I said when I was very young I was only having 2 kids, and biologically I only have 2 kids, and they're by the
Mm,
same woman. Now we should have three. We have a baby that's in heaven with the Lord, but I was never going to be that guy that wasn't there. I always said the woman that I had kids with was going to be the woman I married, and that's exactly what I did. I was not going to let my kids be statistics and growing up in a household with a single black mother. I
mm.
wasn't going
I
to have
like
that
that.
happen. My kids are now 12 and 15, and they know how I feel about their mother, and they know how their mother feels about me. Now, mind you, they see the good and the bad side. That's another thing I didn't want. I didn't want my kids growing up with thinking that everything is peaches, because it ain't.
Mm,
Marriage is hard. Marriage is work, and they get to see the good and the bad. I'm not gonna have my kids growing up with rose-colored glasses, thinking that there's no problems out here in the world when it's nothing but problems out here in the world,
right.
especially the way their life is going now. Life ain't like it is in the 80s when I was growing up, where gas was $1.10 per gallon, or rent was $400 or $500. No, it's getting harder and harder out here. So
No, it's harder.
I want y'all to know that things are gonna get harder when you guys are my age. It's not gonna be the same.
Right.
I want them to be able to see the good along with the bad, so they make their own decisions and they make conscious choices to know what needs to be done in what situation.
I like that. I like that. I like the fact that you are giving your children the realness, the rawness. You're showing your children what it is and what it ain't. You're allowing your children to see what black love really looks like, because a lot of these children do not get to see that. So like it is a blessing to see a man loving his wife in the correct way, especially an African American man. So salute to you, my brother. Salute to you on that.
I appreciate that.
So no problem, man. No problem. So my next question to you is: when did you know that the curse was going to stop with you? I know you said you grew up without your father. How did you finally get to that point to where you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna do what everybody else around me is doing. I'm gonna create my own path. What was that like for you?
So that decision was made at a very young age. I went through a lot. I grew up quick.
Mhm.
Not to say that I didn't have a childhood. I had an amazing childhood. Because I had older siblings. See, there's a big gap between me and my siblings. My mother's youngest, because she has three. She went girl, boy, girl, boy. That's how my mother's kids were born: girl, boy, girl, boy. And the younger daughter, the gap between me and my sister are 15 years. So I had my older siblings are essentially extended parents to me
Right.
because I essentially grew up with their children. My oldest niece and nephew are only 2.5 years younger than I am. So I didn't get to have like a little brother or sister, but in effect I did because my nieces and my nephews, the older ones, are
Brothers
like
and
my little
sisters.
brothers and sisters. They don't call me uncle, and I told them don't. I'm only 2 years older than you. It's weird for them to be able to call me uncle, and I'm only 2 years older than they are. But I made the decision probably in my teens when, my brother one day he calls me and he goes, "Hey man," because my brother's a barber. My brother's been a barber my whole life. He's probably been a barber since he was a teenager, I believe. But he called me and was like, "Hey man, your dad's up here. You should come see him." And I did. I was probably like 17, 18, something like that. And I did. I walked up there to see him and we had a good conversation. And then as I'm leaving after his haircut, I'm like, why do I have to come see him?
Mm,
And I'm like,
mm,
why did I get the phone call instead of the other way around? Like, why didn't he call me instead
mm.
of my brother calling me saying, "Hey man, I'm up at the shop. You wanna?" So I made the decision really young to say, this stops now. And I saw what my sister went through, and I saw what my mother went through raising multiple kids. I saw what cousins and things like that went through. I was like, I would never. This has to stop now. And we as men have to make the conscious decision to say, hey, I'm not gonna go around, for lack of a better term, shooting up everybody's club and making a bunch of kids that I
Right.
can't see. Um, because you're not hurting you, you're hurting them, those kids. And then you got multiple households with these black women and they're raising kids on their own. And not to say that black men don't do it too, because I know of black single fathers, but for the majority, these are black women that are raising these kids by themselves. And then these kids, they grow up with one point of view of, just mom. Well, mom can't teach me how to be a man. I was blessed with brothers and uncles. Not everybody has that. So I have to make sure that I am here to teach my daughter how a man is supposed to love a woman and teach my son how he should love a woman and how he should be loved. So the generational
That's
curse
big right there.
had to stop here. Because if it didn't stop here, then where would it stop?
Yeah, that's big right there. Where we always talk about showing our women, our daughters, how they should be loved, but we never talk about showing our sons how they ought to be loved as well, which is just as important.
Very much so. Very much so. Because if you as a man don't know how to be loved, then you can't properly love somebody.
It's impossible. Like It was asked, I'll never forget it. Somebody asked me, actually, in a coaching session that I was in, I was asked, what is it that makes you happy? What do you do that makes you happy? And I couldn't even answer that question because it's like I've done it for everybody else. I don't know what it was that made me happy. And they asked me, who is James H. Glover III? Not Reverend Glover, but James H. Glover III. And I'm like, I don't know who he is anymore. I'm like, I've forgotten who he is. And as men, we wear all of these hats, especially black men. We wear all of these hats. And sometimes we forget, yo, I got to figure out who I am too. Because if I'm not good, the family ain't going to be good.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. To piggyback off what you're talking about, we give all the credit for our women for wearing a ton of hats. You know, they wear mother, wife, sister, counselor, therapist, but we don't give ourselves the same credit because we wear father, husband, brother, preacher, priest of our household, head of household, the leader. We wear a ton of hats too, and we don't give ourselves the same grace that we give our women.
Right.
And if we did so and learned how to really take care of ourselves, we could be the most powerful beings on earth, even when we're outnumbered. Because as black men, we are very much outnumbered in society. But if we learn really to take care of this up here
Right.
and really put forth an effort to be the best version of ourselves all the time, we could literally take the world over.
And we could, because a lot of the times we are playing chess when the rest of the world is playing checkers. We got to play catch up.
Mm-hmm.
We never was born on third base. We already born way out in the outfield somewhere. And we got to play catch up to make sure that we caught up with the rest of the world to even get to where halfway to where the rest of the world is.
Yeah, yeah. Double the work for half the effort.
Yeah. So as we're coming to a close tonight, man, we're gonna do a little fun. We're gonna have a little fun.
Okay.
Anybody that knows me, they know that I am the king of the scenarios. Sarah and Nikki will have clowned me and have said, "Oh Lord, here he goes with another scenario. Here he goes." But the scenarios, those are kind of my thing. So I'm gonna give you a scenario, and it's gonna be still within this topic, and we're going to see how you would respond to it.
Okay.
All right. So here's your scenario, man. Your son comes home to you, and he tells you that he has gotten a young lady pregnant, and he doesn't know how to tell his mother, but he wanted to come to you and ask you what should he do. What is your response to him?
First response is thank you for coming to me. I appreciate you coming and be willing to talk to me about it. Because not a lot of boys want to talk to dad about things like that. They'd rather go to the mother because they think dad is going to overreact.
Mm-hmm.
So my appreciation would be my first thought and my first expression to him. Number two, well, you know you have to tell your mother regardless, because me and my wife don't keep no secrets,
Right.
and they my kids know that. We are, like I told y'all before on a pass, we are tag team. When I
Mm-hmm.
tag out, you tag in. We are one. So she has to know. And I will let him know that I would be more than willing to be with him when he speaks with her. Because anybody that knows my wife knows how she feels about that boy downstairs. And she she won. Her first instinct is going to be, who is this little heifer? That's going to be her first thought. Who is this little heifer that you've been? But once she realizes, the situation, she's more than likely going to cheer up about it. And I would hope that he knows that, but the fact that he came to me first would make me feel like, top of the
You
world.
don't know it.
It would make me feel top of the world because a lot of times my kids, me personally, just in my household, my kids will go to my wife first because growing up, dad wasn't always the nicest person. I've
Mhm.
learned to calm down a lot, and my daughter, she'll come to me for some stuff. My son, he ain't trying to hear it from me. He gonna go to mom first. That's just who he is. So if he really came to me first, I would be like, man, that would make me feel top of the world. Second, and then my first question would be, well, why wasn't you protected?
Mhm.
I want to know why, because I'm gonna just give you a little background. 13 years old, my mother used to work um, at a place that did HIV testing, and I had a pillowcase full of condoms, bro. My mother was like, listen, I know you're gonna do it. We know this is gonna happen. This is human reaction, and we in the hood. There's no way that you don't know what this is and you're not gonna go do it. So I would rather you be protected.
Right.
And I will do the same for him. So I would want to know, why are you not protected? But beside the point, I'm happy you came to me first.
Mhm.
We got some things we need to figure out, but we definitely need to go tell your mother, and I'll be more than happy to be with you when you tell her.
I like that. I like that. I like that. So, man, we appreciate you really for coming on tonight, man. And what we want you to do now is I want to give you a moment to keep it real with our audience. You can give the man, I want you at this point to give the man some advice. The black men out here that feel like they are battling a lot and they don't really know how to deal with it. I want you to talk to them. And also, I want you to tell my audience where they can find you at, my brother.
Alrighty. Well, for my brothers, um, don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to express yourself, because I know it's a battle every time you leave your front door, and you fight until you get back home. Be encouraged to know that there are other brothers out here that know what you're going through. And even if you are against therapy, um, please at least have somebody, one or two brothers that you can talk to. Talking to your wife or your spouse or your girlfriend or even your mom is cool, but do your best to get you a community of brothers that are not afraid to be vulnerable, to be transparent. It will bless you. It will help you in communication. It will help you in your life, period. Even maybe in business, because we all know that these days you might want to look into having your own income on top of whatever you got going on in your 9 to 5. Um, know that we love you. I may have never met you before, but the love of Christ I want to give to you now. Know that you are loved. Know that you are appreciated. And stop thinking that being vulnerable is soft, because it's not. Because being vulnerable is what allows you to get that stress off your chest. The anxiety rate is too high, the depression rate is too high, and the suicide rate is too high for you to be internalizing everything. So be encouraged. Number two, keep your peace in your pants, brother. Keep your eyes on one woman, not two or three. It's time for us as black men to stop worrying about having more than one piece. And I ain't talking PACE, PIECE. It's time for us to stop worrying about having more than one option. It's time for us to start taking care of our women, black, white, Hispanic, or indifferent. But again, know that you are loved, know that you are appreciated, know that you are thought about, and know that we care. As far as where you can find me, like I said in past podcasts, don't look for me on Facebook. You are not going to find me. There's 1,000 Thomas Barrons on Facebook. Unless you find me through James or Shira from Beauty and Blemish Beauty, you're probably not going to find me on Facebook. On Instagram is probably where I spend most of my time. Regardless, is Tommy Guns 920. That's TOMMYGUNZ 920. Don't ask me why I picked that name, but that's where you can find me. Other than that, find me out here in the world.
We thank you. We thank our guest, Mr. Thomas, for coming on. I really do appreciate him, and he will definitely be back again for another episode. As I always say as we close out, sometimes our disappointments are nothing more than God's appointments, meaning some things that we're looking at is bad. God is only turning it around for our good. Stay blessed, and be a blessing to someone else. I will see y'all next week. Peace. Thank you for watching another Reverend JC3 production. We appreciate all of your support. But before you go, here's a clip from one of our favorite episodes this season.
The thing is, when you're talking about I survived it, you got to think of the layers of what you survived and how did you survive in it. You know, being a survivor, some people don't survive what they go through. You know, I am a 6-time attempt suicide survivor.
You can also follow us on every major social media site. And until next week, I'll see y'all later. Peace.